Like, for example, I'm going to get on to the talk in a moment. So, there was 1 year, I've been always very healthy as a monk, but nevertheless 1 year I had a very, very low energy, and I didn't know why. And one of my supporters was a doctor, so he said, look, can I get you into my hospital, where he was a consultant, just to give you some tests? And so he made an admission for me at this hospital, an ordinary hospital, and then when I checked in there, the first thing they asked me in the hospital, have you got your pajamas? And honestly, I'm a monk, I don't have pajamas. And so I said, I don't have any, but you have to have pajamas. Well, I said, look, it's these robes or naked, which would you prefer? I actually said that, and that's when the fun started. Because they put me in a ward, but the doctor, he was a Sri Lankan man, a very lovely man, Dr. Mendes his name was, and he was a gynecologist. You've got it. So when the nurses came round, to do their checks every now and again, they looked at this guy with a bald head and no pajamas, just robes, under a gynecologist. They had a lot of fun. And I think that's what hospitals should be like, if at all possible, to have some fun there, some joy. And I had only 6 days there, and I felt much better afterwards. They didn't give me anything, just tested this and tested that, and tested something else. I don't know, guys are a bit crazy sometimes. Actually, some of you will think I'm being very generous with guys, but there's 3 other men and myself sitting in this hospital ward. Just what do you do during the day? You have stupid conversations. And one of the conversations was, what's the worst procedure you've ever endured in a hospital? And they were all these worst procedures and tests. And one of the guys said, I had this one. It was really terrible, really painful. They said it was going to hurt, but it really did. And then one of the other guys went white. And he put his hand up and said, I'm having that this afternoon. I don't know why people do this. But anyway, I have a lot of fun. That's okay. I'm okay. So anyway, the talk. This is supposed to be about meditation, but I do tell funny stories as well, and the true stories and jokes and stuff, because they really help. But I'm going to be serious. If you haven't heard this story before, it's worth hearing. Once you realize that meditation, samadhi, is about stillness, not concentration, but stillness, it changes the way you meditate as well. And the old story, how do I keep this water still? I'm sure you've seen this before or heard it before, but I keep on repeating it because it is really a powerful simile. How do you keep it still? You put it down. You let it go. You detach. You're kind to it. You allow it to be. You don't control it. Leave it alone. Stop grasping. And then that water becomes perfectly still. And I can maintain that stillness for long periods of time because it's effortless. If you try and hold it still, you'll be trying for years and you'll never get the amount of stillness when you just put it down. And number 2, you get so tired. I don't know how many people, when they meditate, they find it's tiring. What are you talking about? Meditation, relax to the max. That's one of the reasons I tell that story, relax to the max. Because it does give me relaxation when I meditate. I don't need to go off on a holiday to recuperate after a meditation retreat. It is the holiday, the meditation retreat. What do we call this place? Club Med. Club Med Italy or Club Med Oxford, whatever you wish. But what that means, it gives you the idea that this is what the meditation is. It relaxes, it makes things peaceful. And it gives you so many wonderful insights. First of all, sometimes, why is it when you let things go that it still's not working? This is what many people do when they start meditating in this fashion. They just let things go. So is it still yet? Oh no. Come on, I haven't got all day. I'm a busy monk. So you obviously have to have some patience. And if you're patient and you just observe with kindness to yourself and kindness to the water, then in no long time, the water becomes so still. And when it becomes still, it becomes kind of really interesting, fascinating. Recently, quite a few years ago now, but when I gave the keynote address, and the keynote address at international conferences, that's usually kind of prestigious, but the conference I was giving this keynote address to was in South Korea, and it was it 2019 International World Computer Conference? The World Computer Conference in South Korea, and had all these big IT experts from all over the world. And then I was supposed to give the keynote address. And as soon as you had just, the meetings with everybody to begin with, of course they saw me and say, "Who are you?" And I said, "What are you doing here?" That's a tough question. My computer skills are not that great. I'm an old monk. And so all these, big shots. And then one of the things which I told them, what I'm going to tell you is about insights into innovation and productivity. First of all, innovation. One of the first stories I told them was that, what was it, in the 1916, I think, the World Exposition in St. Louis in US. That's over 100 years ago. And when you have these big conventions or exhibitions, people always need food. And at this convention, they had little stalls selling different types of food for everybody. And it was just a coincidence that the stall selling ice cream was next to the stall which sold American waffles. Now that's important. Waffles and ice cream, what do they have to do with one another? People always talk to one another, they form friendships, and the owner of the stall selling waffles was very friendly, talking to the guy who was selling ice cream, and they decided to innovate. They decided to combine waffle and ice cream, and that's where the ice cream cone first arose. Do you like ice cream cones? That's where it came from. Just an unfortunate occurrence of two different types of food being together, and they combined. So, what does meditation and computer science have in common? Do you know? I haven't found out yet. Not much. Need a lot of kindness, yes. Need a lot of tolerance, patience. And when things go wrong, they're meant to go wrong. When things go wrong, I always find when things go wrong, that's where you have a lot of interesting things happen. A lot of times, like people become like monks or nuns, or you meet people you never expected to meet before. You get new ideas, new ways of looking at things. That's why, to me, when things go wrong, they don't go wrong. They just go to the unexpected. And I'm just working on one of the things we were talking about in the car coming here this morning. We're talking about rebirth or reincarnation. And just one of the people I really admired, who basically lost his job because of this event. He was, at my age, he was an entertainer. And I keep forgetting his name. He was from north of England, a comedian. He was on the BBC, no, it's the ITV. Do you remember those days when you used to have just 2 channels on the TV? And I remember my brother and I used to argue to death about which channel we want on. And there's only 2 of us and only 2 channels. Nevertheless. But anyway, this fellow, he was doing a gig somewhere in London. He's an entertainer. And that evening, I think it was Margaret Thatcher's time, she did a new one-way system through London. And on his way back from the theatre to home, he got lost. Something went wrong with his idea of directions. He got totally lost. And he was driving in London, places he'd never been to before. So he thought. And he turned one corner, and when he turned the corner, he recognized the street. He'd never been down there in this life. He was getting all this spontaneous recall of his previous lives, or previous life. And he went to the house where he lived before. And I don't know if you've seen in London little blue signs on, some famous person would live there before. And his former name was on that house. He knocked on the door because even in this life he was a TV personality. They let him in. And he said, "What are you doing here?" Said the owners of the house. He said, "I used to live here." "No, you didn't. We've lived in this house since the Second World War." "What do you mean you lived here before?" He said, "In my previous life." And because he was well known, and because he could actually recall all of the renovations and things which had been done in that house, they accepted that as actually true. And interestingly, in his previous life, he was one of the most famous music hall entertainers. That's about 1913, 14, 15, around about. No, before that, no. Was it after that time, music hall? But anyway, he was one of the top music hall entertainers. And in this life, he was quite a well-known comedian. So when things go wrong, if that thing hadn't gone wrong, if he hadn't lost his way in the one-way traffic, he would have never had that spontaneous recall of his previous life. And I thought that's kind of fascinating. Because I mentioned that was the ITV, was his employer. The head of the ITV at that time was a very devout Catholic. So when this gentleman wrote that article and published the article about his spontaneous memories of past life, that they sacked him, which was actually kind of disgusting. But nevertheless, he made lots and lots of money afterwards, being the expert on the life of this famous entertainer in London, over 50, 60, 70 years ago. So he still managed to keep a good livelihood. Anyway, I don't know why I started talking about that. Innovation, yes. Innovation. So when you get lost, you know what you're going to find. Just on that street where you go to, who you were before. But anyway, let's get back to what I'm supposed to be talking about. Okay, computer conference, innovation, and just how about stillness. It's amazing just how stillness, how you can, how it's so easy to be still. And once you are still, the Buddha simile was when he called it the best way. This has actually come into Chinese Buddhism, when they say the best way to see the full moon at night is actually as a reflection in a still forest pool or up in the mountains. Because there, if the pool is perfectly still, that's where you see an accurate image of the moon and the stars in the heavens above. And I like that simile because that's where you see insights. They're not distorted because the mind is still, not what you want to see, but just what's there. And if anybody wants to check this out, that the person, the only Welshman who's got a Nobel Prize in physics from understanding quantum tunneling, which made some type of supercomputers possible. He got his insight into quantum tunneling after meditating. He got a Nobel Prize for that. So it's not just what you're focusing on in Dhamma. It's actually just because that was his work, his passion, what he was doing at university. Of course, I mean, that was at Cambridge, not at Oxford. we got weirdos over there. No, the best university is the university where you are, wherever that happens to be. But the important part was he got that deepest insight even just when he was, after he was meditating. That was what he was thinking about, that was his work. And after going on a retreat, those ideas were still jangling around his brain, but after a deep meditation you could see it clearly. And he managed to penetrate that truth and become a famous theoretical physicist, quantum physicist. Did a lot of good for the world. So anyhow, this is what happens. There was also another more personal story, not so personal. On one of the retreats which I was teaching over in Perth many years ago, there's one of the ladies, and she was a social worker, and she told me that she had a very, very difficult job, high responsibility. It was her job that when there were some children, whose parents were in doubt of whether they were capable of looking after their children. They may be drug dealers or alcoholics or something, and their children were not given a solid foundation for their lives. She had to be the one who made the final decision. Shall we take the children away from the parents and put them in some state care, or should we let them stay with their parents? It's one of the most difficult decisions to make. And a lot of the time she was always wanting to find some other alternatives. And I remember when she told me that she came on the retreat really late. She was trying her best to finish off all the loose ends so she could have a quiet retreat. She deserved it. It was such a very difficult job. And as she was meditating one day in the hall in the retreat center, that's when she sort of had all these insights came bubbling up. And she got a piece of paper out and wrote them down. And she told me afterwards, did I do the right thing? Interrupting the retreat by these insights just came in by themselves, and she wrote them down on a piece of paper. I said, yes. I said yes because you'll probably find out that those solutions which came up in your meditation were probably so innovative, so kind, and so effective. And she actually said that afterwards, when she went back to work after the retreat was finished. All of those innovations which she had, new ways of dealing with some very difficult situations, were very, very, very effective. And she didn't know how on earth did she manage to come up with those ideas. A lot of times when we have problems in our life, which we have to find solutions for. It's not just to say, I'm just going to walk away from this. These are real kids, and their lives are in jeopardy. And what do? Take them away from their loved ones? Or just leave them with the loved ones and maybe see them really injured? It's a very difficult situation, very difficult decisions to make. But what she did, meditated, put it down. And then when she picked it up afterwards, she came up with some terrific ideas. And this is actually how we use our meditation. Please don't always think it's just for the Dhamma, to thinking about what anicca is or what dukkha is. I think you all know what dukkha is on the second day of a retreat. But what it does, it makes the mind very clear, and you see new ways of dealing with things. So this is one way which we can value what meditation is, but that's just one thing there of how to keep it still. I also love the way that we can talk about other ways where we don't have to put so much effort into what we're doing. Simply because one of the biggest problems I've seen anyway with human beings in this age is that they're all so tired. Everybody is tired. And even poor Ayachanda is tired. Are you? You're staying up all night trying to organize the program, and then afterwards Ajahn Brahm just doesn't follow the program. It's my fault. But you have to do those things, but things do go wrong. And when they do go wrong, one of the things I've learned as a monk, that I go wrong, blaming others never really works. If you blame somebody else, it just makes life really hard. That's what everybody does. I prefer just to say, well, it's not gone, I haven't gone the direction I expected, but let's go make the best of the direction which I found right now. See what happens next. I already mentioned, I think, that how Dhammasara, nuns' monastery in Perth, was found. Because, we were going somewhere else. We saw a big sign, so we decided to go and have a look. And it was brilliant. It's also much of my life, even how I became a monk. I went to many, many retreat centers to meditate, but the meditation retreat which I liked the best, it was just in an old boarding house. Not particularly quiet, not particularly beautiful, but nevertheless, when you close your eyes, it's like you are in a cave. And I close my eyes and my sense of sight disappears. I should mention this point, that I did go once to a Zen monastery up in the north of England. That was called Throstle Hole Priory. Have any of you ever been to there, Throstle Hole in Northumberland? And the one thing which I learned there, which was really amazing, was that I'd never done Zen meditation before. And I was told all you needed to do was to keep your eyes open, cross your legs, and stare at a wall. It's not much instruction, but at least, because I had little instruction, I think that's why it worked. It worked because I didn't know what to expect. And I was always adventurous. And I hope you can be adventurous in your meditation as well. So when I was, my eyes open, looking at a wall, that was what, the next thing which happened, which was very strange, was the wall vanished. Imagine the curtains here, and the wall, the concrete, whatever it is, and all the painted stuff as well. Imagine that you're looking at all those photos on the wall over there, and they suddenly all vanished. They disappeared with the wall as well. My eyes were fully open. I was conscious, and could not see anything. And it was weird. It happened suddenly. How on earth can that happen? And what is happening? To me, it was a wonderful experience. Number one, because I was not scared. I knew I was in good physical and mental health. But I realized this was something which was strange. And then you realize that this is not really that strange. If any of you just look at just something, a simple object, just like a white wall, and don't move, and don't think, and don't go to the past or the future, keep in the present moment, basically the brain turns off. If it happens again, just leave it alone, because after a while it turns off by itself, just like everything else. After a while, your brain is only meant to notice things which change. Things which stay the same disappear. If you want to prove that, close your eyes. Can you see the color of the inside of your eyelids? Maybe you got too used to that now, you don't notice it anymore. If you're in front of a reasonably bright light, you can see the dark red of the inside of your eyelids. And after a while, that vanishes. Because it's not dangerous, it's not exciting, it's not stimulating. And that's the only things which your brain notice. If I give a boring talk, after a while I see that the eyes stop listening, and I see the eyelids close and the head droop. What actually stimulates you? What keeps the brain working? It has to be something interesting, something enjoyable, something change the tone of the speech, and then you find it wakes you up. So because of this, it's one of the reasons why when things remain the same, you don't move, you stay still, things vanish. So let's give you another simile of this. This is the simile of how to become enlightened. Are you interested? Now you can see that's an example when it stimulates the brain, and the brain, you see everybody move up. And how to become enlightened with absolutely zero effort. Are you more interested? And that's a simile. I'm sure you must have heard it before if you've listened to my talks a lot. And that's a simile of the... I'm going to do two similes of this. One I don't think I've said for quite a while, the driverless bus simile. You know, this was years before Google came up with the idea of a driverless bus. I'm kind of kicking myself. I came up with that idea way before Google existed. If I'd have written that down on a piece of paper, I could have paid for the Anukampa Bhikkhuni Monastery and a lot more as well. I could have bought the whole of Boar's Hill for you. Too much work, okay, yeah. But nevertheless, the driverless bus simile. It's just about using a usual simile about what life is. Life is your journey. Okay, so suppose you're on a bus, on a journey somewhere, and you find that sometimes you drive through this beautiful scenery. Look out the window and it's absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful green fields, waterfalls, all the stuff which you really feel is just almost, you should paint a picture of it, it's so gorgeous. And so what do you ask the bus driver to do? Can you please slow down? This is beautiful outside. Can you even just park and let's just go for a little walk, a bit of exercise outside? What does your bus driver do? Speeds up. Speeds up and drives through the beautiful territory so quickly. And then you go through this really the toxic waste dumps of life. You've got a weird sense of humour. Well, thank you. It makes me perk up. Your sense of humour is weird like mine. So the toxic waste dumps of life, and you want, get out of here. Who wants to look at this? And what does your bus driver do? Speeds up, yeah. Slows down, yes. Just checking you out. He doesn't just slow down, he parks. So you have to endure the toxic waste dumps of life longer than anyone ever should. And then after a while, you can understand that simile. Why is it when you're having a wonderful time, it goes really fast? When you're having a lot of difficulties, a lot of disappointments and work and problems and excess heat and excess what else? Why is that just it takes such a long time, longer than it should do? So then you realize that your bus driver is his fault or her fault.
Okay.
Which one?
Well, their fault.
Their fault. Okay, thank you. Thank you for saving me. It's the bus driver's fault. So, what do you do next? You want to tell the bus driver, speed up when life is very difficult. Slow down when you're having a wonderful time. How long have I been staying at Anukampa Grove now?
Nearly 2 weeks.
Is that gone very quickly?
Yep.
Whose fault is that? Your bus driver. Oh, my bus driver. You can see why sometimes that we want to make sure the happy times, the joyful times, the valuable times last longer, and the unhappy times go through fast. Can we not train our bus driver to make sure that they know how to drive the bus so they can go through life when it's really difficult very fast, and when life is very perfect and beautiful and having a wonderful time, while you can slow down, even park and enjoy? It's the bus driver's fault. So what do? You want to find out, where is this bus driver sitting? So that's why in this simile, in meditation, you get up from your normal seat, you go deep inside to find out where your will lives. Your bus driver's seat, the will. When you find your bus driver's seat, that's where you get the shock of your life. The bus driver's seat is empty. There's no one there. You are a driverless bus. So what happens when you realize you're a driverless bus? There's no one actually driving your bus. You go back to your seat and you shut up complaining. Who can you complain to? There's no one there to complain to. So you're sitting down there having a wonderful time, going through toxic waste dumps or beautiful scenery, and it's just a bus driver, there's no one there, so it just goes according to the program. And who designed the program? Mara? But anyway, the more interesting driverless bus or effortless enlightenment simile is the simile. Well, first of all, you know what enlightenment is? Before how to achieve it? I was going to say this the other day about the 5 kids playing the wishing game. How many of you know the story of the 5 kids playing the wishing game? Okay, I think the majority don't. That's a relief. So, 5 kids playing the wishing game. The rules of the wishing game go like this. Every kid has a wish, and if the kid which comes up with the best wish, obviously wins the wishing game. And the first kid puts up their hand and said, my wish is for a new Nintendo computer game. Is that right?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's okay, yeah. Because I've never... An Xbox. I've never played a computer game in my life. I'm not of that age. I've been a monk for 50 years. I've been, neglected? Deprived, yes. Can I sue somebody?
Mara.
Sue tomorrow.
You can see Mara.
Oh, sue Mara, yes. And then I'd sue him to pay off the debts for Anukampa Bhikkhuni Project Grove, whatever it's called. Sorry. But anyhow, the computer game. Okay, first kid said, I want a new Xbox. Very good. So they asked the second girl, what would you like? And she said, she's much smarter than the first kid. I would like a computer game store with a shop. Then I get new computer game whenever I want one. Very good. Third kid, what would you like? What's your choice? And he said, well, the trouble is, I can have as many computer games as I want, but my mum and dad will never let me actually play those computer games until I've done my homework. So, what I would want is $10 billion US. And with $10 billion US, the first thing I will buy is my own school. And if I own a school and I give the teachers a salary, they can never fail me. They can never write F on my on my homework. But anyway, you know what F means if you get an F at school? That's right, fantastic. E means excellent. A means arrogant. I love telling kids that. They get into trouble with their parents. I once told a story about... Oh my. Okay. I got 3 stories. Okay, I won't tell you. I can't. I started it.
No, Ajahn.
Okay,
5 minutes.
okay, 5 minutes. Okay, what's that? Okay, how many more kids have I got left? 2 kids or 3 kids? 2 kids left. Okay. $1 billion US. Once I graduate from my own school, and I can buy my own university, so I don't have to do any schoolwork at all. I can just play computer games all day, and mum and dad can't even criticize me for that. Okay, $1 billion US. Okay, 2 more kids left. The 4th girl said, if I had a wish, I would wish, how can you do better than 10 billion US? Don't say 20 billion. That's basically the same. So the next wish was, if I had a wish, I would wish for 3 wishes. That's a wish. And with 3 wishes, my first wish, I'd have the computer game shop. Second wish, I'd have the $10 billion US. And my third wish, 3 more wishes. I can go on forever. That's the infinity of wishes. And it's not a joke, this is some serious Dhamma here. Because sometimes I wondered, why is it that people have got more money than they can ever use, ever spend, want to go into power, either become a politician or a president, or be able to influence them. They want those 3 wishes, infinity of wishes. And the 5th kid, they won the wishing game. Clearly. Everybody agreed they got the best wish. And the best wish was, I wish I was so content I never needed a wish ever again. And I like the way that was presented, simply because it mentioned all the other things which people aspire for. And the only thing which is really worth something, is that contentment, understanding, wisdom, contentment, kindness. So you never needed a wish ever again. And anyway, so now you know what enlightenment is. How do you get it? To be so content you never needed a wish ever again. And that's where, I've got 2 minutes. That's where we got the simile of the, what's it called again? I can't remember, Ajahn Brahm, I've only got 2 minutes left. That's the donkey simile. Is that the one you're thinking of?
I wasn't thinking. I was so content and everything.
Yes, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So the donkey. Now you all know that donkeys used to pull carts a long time ago. And donkeys are very stubborn. They always used to call them stubborn as a donkey. But always be kind to donkeys, because as I mentioned to you, if you read some of the introduction to some of my books, that was where this Zen monk once told me when I was young, anyone who writes a book, and I've wrote quite a few books, has to pay for that with 7 lifetimes as a donkey. So I've wrote so many books, so I've got so many donkey lives in my future incarnations. So please, if you see a donkey, be kind to them. If you want to find out if it was me, give them some tea with condensed milk, and if they go, what was it? You know, that's Ajahn Brahm incarnated. Yeah, but I'm not a donkey yet. But anyway, so how do you get a donkey to pull a cart? It's a waste of time sort of hitting it with a stick. The donkey won't move, it's stubborn. So instead, you tie the stick to the donkey's neck. So the front of the stick is 2 foot in front of the donkey's head. On the end of the stick, you put a string. On the end of the string, you put, if it's a donkey from UK, you put a cup of tea with condensed milk in front. If it's an Italian donkey, what would you put in front of an Italian donkey to get it to move? What does an Italian donkey's like? Cappuccino. Okay. I don't know. When I told a story over in Malaysia, I said, put a piece of durian. Yeah, they love durian. Anyway, so you put, if it's like a usual donkey, a carrot, okay. You put a carrot in front of the donkey, and on the end of a string, on the end of the stick. What does the donkey do? It sees a carrot and goes running after the carrots. It likes carrots. It wants to. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to stop now. No, of course I won't. So it goes running after the carrot. When it goes running after the carrot, what happens next? The faster it runs after the carrot.
That's the carrot.
The carrot, yeah, okay. I'll take some carrot first.
It's very hot.
Carrot's healthy. Anyway, it goes running after the carrot. And what happens? Can it catch the carrot?
No.
Why not?
It goes farther away.
Yeah, because it's on the stick, on the string. That's the carrot. The faster the donkey runs, the more the carrot runs in front of the donkey. It's always about 2 foot in front of the head. It runs really, 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 really fast, and it's still 2 foot in front. So, but then the donkey learns the Dhamma. When the donkey learns how to meditate, what does the donkey do?
Stay still.
Stay still and let's go. What happens to the carrot? Goes further away. 4 foot in front of the donkey. Never been that far away ever before. So what does the donkey do? Gives up and chooses another religion. No. The donkey stops, and the donkey is patient. Remember what I said about patience? That's an important quality. And then the carrot's never been as far away before, but then a strange thing happens to you in meditation life. Then the carrot starts to come towards you. You don't do anything, you just keep still. And as the carrot is coming closer and closer towards the donkey, the closer it comes, it's its usual place now, about 2 foot in front of the donkey's mouth. And it's 2 foot in front of your mouth. That's when it's going the fastest. It's really coming really, really speedily towards you. And then soon it comes so close to the donkey's mouth. There's one last thing which the donkey has to remember. Many donkeys forget this. And this is why they don't become enlightened. They have to go to the dentist. When it comes that close, you know how big teeth donkeys have? Many donkeys get the carrot bouncing off the teeth. Because you have to remember kindness, compassion. This is mindfulness and compassion. This is the title of these talks. He has to remember, just at the very last minute, to remember, carrot, the door of my mouth is open to you. If the donkey doesn't open his mouth, then the carrot can't come in. And that's how you become enlightened. You've been running after wisdom, peace, enlightenment. I don't know what you've been running after, but you know what I'm talking about. And you get close sometimes, but then you move, and it moves away from you. Stay still, and then be kind. The last moment, and it will come right inside of you. That's how you become enlightened. Seriously, anybody who ever gets these deep meditations or gets these enlightenment experiences, they're always unexpected. You've been chasing, running and running. You have all the causes there. All you need to do is to stop. And it gets so peaceful, so amazing. Please don't disturb it by doing things. Just be kind and open your mouth. Thank you for listening. It's only 5 minutes. Right. Thank you. So now, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have some, not Q&A.
Great.
Yeah, no, but this is Q&A. It doesn't mean questions and answers. It means going to the toilet and queuing and arguing. Q&A means queuing and arguing in front of the toilet. Oh yeah, please. Oh God, I can't. They're already gone. Yeah, okay. Please, if you want to use one of the men's toilets, make sure there's no one in there. But then,
The hotel said that we can't do that because it's open for all the guests.
Open for all the guests. Oh, crikey. Okay.
It's okay. Just don't put the sound.
That's very good. Thank you, everybody. Now, there you go. So now the opportunity to be still. So please let the eyes close. And see if you can let the body go into a comfortable posture. And just feel the body. You can get to know the body very easily. How are the toes? How are the heels of the feet? How are the uppers? How are your ankles? And as you experience these parts of your body, be kind to them. These are things which you care about. They're entrusted to you. You look after them. And through kindness, it's amazing how they can relax and feel very, very, very comfortable. How I feel my lower legs. I'm aware of them, and the longer I observe them with kindness, the more that they become at ease. Sometimes it's like you have a little kitten and you settle her down, let her go to sleep. She's tired. Like my legs. When they can relax, there's a special feeling I can notice in my body of my muscles relaxing and everything else becoming at ease. It's like they're having a massage, or they're soaking in hot water with some salts in them which relax me. This is just my imagination, but it works. I'm being kind to them. And I'm kind to my knees. I can feel them. And relax every part of them. To my thighs. And my buttocks. I made them as comfortable as possible. And then move up from my buttocks to my waist. If you had your eyes open, you could see me just adjusting my waist. When I give a talk, I have one posture. When I meditate, another posture is needed. It just works for me. In that posture, my back is straight. As I go up the back, feel the different vertebrae. And I get to my neck, shoulders. As I mentioned to you yesterday, often my shoulders feel tight. One other way to relax them is I go the opposite direction. I scrunch them up more, squash all those muscles and bones as much as I can. And when I can scrunch them up no more, I let go. I don't need to explain to myself what letting go means. It means I don't control them anymore. I let them become loose. They relax deeper than when I started. And I go to the front of my body and go up on the inside, going up through my digestive tract. Just scan it upwards, and if I come across anything which is aching or hurting, I pause. One of the methods I use, I imagine that tightness in my intestines and imagine it expanding. By expanding that area, it's as if that the pain or the irritation gets diluted. So from ice it becomes water, from water becomes vapor, and from vapor it gets so thin it disappears. And as I go up my torso, if I come across any tightness anywhere, I will pause. I will relax. So the body can do its job without going through any congestions or swellings or inflammations. I also get to know my body as I do this. As I often say, if anybody has any tightness somewhere, that could be like a cancer, don't be afraid, but just know. And as you go past that area, or pause in that area, just give it lots of kindness, acceptance, peace. And you can feel just how it opens up roots of healing which may have been closed before. It's usually a method I do at greater length. We're doing that next week in Perth when the local cancer group come to monastery for a visit. And I take as much time as I need to relax the body. And then go up to the neck again, making sure my head is well balanced on top of the neck. Not too far forward, not too far back. Not too far to the left or right. I find the optimum. And then I go to my facial muscles to make sure the muscles around the eyes and the nose and the mouth are at ease. And then I become aware of the whole body, sitting here on this armchair. And at this point I'm doing this now, I often stay with the perception of relaxation until I feel the body exhibiting the joy of relaxation. To relax is very pleasurable. When I can experience that pleasure, the body relaxes even more. As it relaxes more, I know that this is the moment to go from the body to the mind. I've done the preparation of relaxing the body to the backs. I feel the joy of it. It feels good. And it's there for me every time, except when I'm sick or something. And as I go to the mind, first thing I perceive is the present moment, just now. Future, past, all of that will just cause more work for me when it's not needed. The past has just disappeared. I can't change it. I never learn much from the past. I learn from the present, from now. This is where reality lives, now. And again, I always remember that the future is a perception which is right there in the front of my meditation mind. Your future is being made right now. If you care for your future, keep your attention now. And it makes the meditation so much more easy. What I need to be aware of is what's happening now. And as you go deeper, you stop the internal commentary. Stop describing things. Know them. It's like you know a sunset without putting it down in words. In this moment, silent, present moment awareness, and just let the meditation happen. Don't choose. Don't decide what to do next. What you're doing now is the only thing to be aware of. And let the meditation happen. And don't be afraid. We're getting close to the end of this meditation period. Got a couple of minutes left. How do you feel? How peaceful is your mind? How relaxed your body? What worked? And how does it feel when it works? What are the causes? The causes which give rise to peace. In a few moments, you may open your eyes. For those who wish to continue with the sitting meditation, you're welcome to do so. For those who want to do some walking meditation, you're welcome. Need to go to the toilet, please do so. And in 40 minutes' time, there'll be a lunch for you. We meet again after lunch at 1:30.